What is going on, everybody? Welcome in here to Rover Sports. I want to thank everybody for subscribing to the channel. A lot of people called in yesterday, were so kind to me. I appreciated that they've enjoyed my work thus far on YouTube. The kids who called into the show. It means a heck of a lot that I can impact anything positively for you guys. So I'm glad you enjoy the content, and it's definitely quirky, different content, I sometimes feel. But let's talk about Nick Foles. I love talking sports. I love talking quarterback play. Nick Foles, a lot of people don't realize this, but if Nick Foles beats Drew Brees in the Superdome, I don't think Drew Brees has ever lost a home playoff game in the Superdome. Drew Brees in the playoffs, he usually lost to Seattle and Pete Carroll. Drew Brees, I'm trying to think of his other loss. He lost to Jim Harbaugh with Alex Smith when Alex Smith went down there and had that comeback against the Saints, you know, the year the Giants won the Super Bowl. So for Drew Brees, this is obviously a huge game because, you know, he wins. This is going to be the easiest road he's going to have left in his career to ever get to the Lombardi Trophy, because Drew Brees, he has 2 home games left. The home games are versus, you know, Doug Peterson. I think Peterson's a good football coach. The remaining teams that are left, we have Jared Goff left, Dak Prescott left, and Nick Foles left. I think the Eagles are really, I'd say the Eagles and Cowboys are the teams that are the most dangerous. Right now, if I had to predict, I'm going to say Cowboys over Eagles in Jerry World, because I still picked the Cowboys to win the Super Bowl a long time ago. I'm not budging off of that prediction. But I really do believe that the Eagles in this matchup are the better football team than the New Orleans Saints. You know, just because the Saints beat the Eagles 41-9 in the regular season, the Eagles quit on that game, okay? Mentally, they were not all there. I think that the players didn't like Carson Wentz as much as Nick Foles. They wanted the change to be made. The Eagles came out against LA and they were relieved that Carson Wentz was not in that game. That's truly how I see it. This is a different Eagles team. I think the Eagles in that game versus the Saints, you know, Avonte Maddox, all these guys like Trey Sullivan, DeAndre Hall, you know, Busby or Trayvon LeBlanc, all these guys were just getting used to playing with each other. And Drew Brees is a sensational quarterback in the regular season at home, but the Eagles are nowhere near the team they are right now. Their defense has learned a lot in a short amount of time, because remember, Jim Schwartz has had to work with a defense that really had to replace a lot of people in the secondary. Chris Long, Malcolm Jenkins, this is a team, the Eagles needed that, the Eagles needed that fire. And now they're the underdogs again. They're 9-point underdogs. The Saints smashed them the first time. Even Jason Peters said that now, everybody's going to be doubting us, and that score is not going to come to fruition the second time around. So the way I look at this game is an Eagles in a revenge spot. I think the Eagles have a much better defense than the New Orleans Saints. I don't expect Drew Brees to put up 31 points in the game. I'm expecting the Eagles to win this game probably. I think the Eagles might win this game like maybe 45-31. I think Nick Foles will throw for 5 touchdowns, 550 yards. It'll be his best game yet, and then the Eagles will keep Nick Foles, because Nick Foles, to me, is on his way to being a Hall of Famer. Nick Foles needs to win 2 games to be a Hall of Famer. It's pretty much a probable lock that if he beats Drew Brees at the Superdome and he gets to a championship, if he gets to 2 Super Bowls, he's a Hall of Famer. He's already won 1 championship. Donovan McNabb never got to another Super Bowl. So Nick Foles already has a Super Bowl MVP. He's already setting records. He's very close to being a Hall of Famer. And as a Giants fan, it actually gives me comfort at night. I'm able to sleep at night because, you know, for a long time last year, everybody would joke around saying a backup quarterback beat Tom Brady. in the Super Bowl. Nick Foles was just a backup quarterback, like what Eli Manning did by beating Tom Brady. That diminishes his accomplishments because now he shares that same title with a guy that's a backup quarterback. But the fact now that Nick Foles is going to be possibly a two-time Super Bowl champion, now that Nick Foles is one of the clutchest quarterbacks ever, I think that Nick Foles, let me think how many playoff wins he has. He has 4 playoff wins, 1 Super Bowl win. He's beaten Vic Fangio's defense. He beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. So, Eli Manning is a lock for the Hall of Fame because of the 2 championships. Kurt Warner was an easy Hall of Famer, and Kurt Warner is very similar to Nick Foles. Kurt Warner was a backup for a long time in the middle of his career. He was terrible on the Giants. He was trash in Detroit. But at the end of his career, he was kind of thrusted into this place in Arizona, and he was able to be linked up with Fitzgerald and Ken Wisenhunt, and he was able to make a championship out of the NFC, beating Jake Delhomme, beating John Fox, beating Andy Reid and McNabb again. And Kurt Warner was 1-2 in Super Bowls. He had the 2 Super Bowl appearances with the Rams. Then he sucked for the majority of his career, and then he was good with the Cardinals at the end. So if Nick Foles makes it to another Super Bowl and wins another NFC championship, he's probably going to be a Hall of Famer as long as he continues maybe 3 to 4 years of playing football. Steve Young didn't play that much football, and Steve Young and Nick Foles are similar. They're both backup quarterbacks. Carson Wentz is definitely not Joe Montana, but Steve Young was overlooked for a very long time, if not for Mike Holmgren. And Steve Young was able to win 2 championships and kind of catch lightning in a bottle and play terrific football. So Nick Foles, if he continues to win these championships, Nick Foles' game, people think that Nick Foles is not talented because he's unathletic and he can't move around. He can move around enough. But imagine if Nick Foles had been in Pittsburgh. Imagine if he had been drafted in the first round, and then you had Troy Polamalu, Bill Cowher, Mike Tomlin, and what Big Ben had. Because to me, Nick Foles is just as talented as Big Ben. They're both clutch quarterbacks. They're both about the same size, both with big hands, huge, gigantic quarterbacks. Big Ben does have more improv skill than Nick Foles. But if Nick had started out younger in Pittsburgh with that infrastructure, he could have very well been a Big Ben Roethlisberger. But I fully expect Nick Foles to outduel Drew Brees. Nick Foles has the better team. Doug Peterson's a better coach than Sean Payton. Sean Payton, for years is an 8-8 football coach. The Saints are used to not going to championships. I would be very surprised if the Saints could beat the Eagles. I'd be shocked. The Eagles are the better football team. I'm taking a money line. I'm going to make probably, you put down 150 on the Eagles, you make a nice chunk of change. That's what I'm going to do. I don't believe that the Saints are up to the task. They're limping into the playoffs as well. They lost versus the Carolina Panthers where Teddy Bridgewater played terribly. They played poorly against the Bucs. They barely beat the Panthers to end the regular season. The Eagles, meanwhile, beat LA, beat the Texans, and then they went to the hardest place to play right now with the best defense in the NFL in Chicago. Chicago was going to be a harder game than this New Orleans Saints game. I know that Trubisky isn't Drew Brees, but the bottom line is this Saints defense is pretty terrible. Nick Foles is going to kill them. I mean, he killed Bill Belichick. He killed what's his name last year, Matt Patricia's defense. He's going to kill Dennis Allen. He's going to put Dennis Allen on skates. He's going to throw for 600 yards or whatever. I don't even know if Lattimore's playing. I don't, their safeties, Ken Crawley or whoever the heck that they have at safety. I'll look it up real quick. But the bottom line is you're starting Eli Apple back there. The linebackers, Anzalone's a nice player from Florida. I know he's a nice player. I know that they have Klein in the backfield as well. I know that their front is really good. So you're not going to be able to run against guys like Sheldon Rankin shenanigans. Cameron Jordan is one of their best defensive players, but if Jason Peters can slow down Khalil Mack, it's not going to be a problem, because Hicks and Mack combined with Leonard Floyd, that's a lot more dangerous than what the Saints are going to offer you. The Saints are playing Kurt Coleman